Mr. President, the United States is at a crossroads in our strategy to counter the threat posed by Communist China. The bill before us, the Endless Frontier Act, aims to counter China primarily by boosting technology research and development. No doubt, these are important components of any strategy to counter China. But unfortunately, it goes about it in the exact wrong way, trying to beat China at its own game and taking us across a frontier that we ought never traverse. In nearly every way imaginable, the Chinese regime consolidates power to trample the rights of individual men and women and quash free expression, the free exercise of religion, and free enterprise. Nothing could be more antithetical to the American system of government and the American way of life. In fact, it's precisely the opposite formula that has made us the world's strongest and most prosperous nation, a free enterprise economy and a voluntary civil society. But unfortunately, Mr. President, the bill before us attempts not to double down on our successes, but to pivot to the so-called successes of China by federally hijacking research and development and crowding out the private incentives that bring successful ideas to market. It is a flawed and ultimately foolish strategy. It would greenlight $54 billion in spending beyond our budget caps with additional authorizations of $190 billion, and it would put this massive amount of money towards more government bureaucracy, producing a system where the government picks winners and losers in industry, creating artificial demand for inefficient technologies, crowding out the good research and development that the private sector already does, and increasing our manufacturing costs. What instead should be our path forward? Instead of chilling innovation and competition, we ought to decentralize power and champion trust in the private sector. We ought to decrease regulation, not invest in regulatory bodies. We ought to simplify and cut taxes, not offshore our jobs. We ought to defend families and not diminish them. We ought to encourage entrepreneurship, not crony capitalism. We ought to strengthen markets, not government. Two paths lie before us, Mr. President. I urge my colleagues to choose the better part and reject this bill.